Hello YouTube and welcome back to Warwick Road. This is my January 2023 update. I hope everyone had a good Christmas and New Year. I'd like to start by thanking all my existing subscribers. With a number of layouts on YouTube, I really appreciate you taking the time to view my channel and comment. But also welcome to the new subscribers, and I hope you enjoy the journey as I develop, improve and just really enjoy the hobby of model railways. This update is going to cover new purchases, running shots, scenery updates and a project that started in 2018, just an update. So on the new purchases, initially I wanted to buy the new Hornby Drax biomass wagons. I'd contacted all the retailers that I could think of that I knew were tier 1, but everyone had sold out. But one did say that when they were released that they would be in touch if anybody didn't take up their pre-order. Good on them, they contacted me. However, they only had one pack, so I thought about it. Then I'd seen Susanna's video about the issue she'd had with them securing them. So I went onto eBay and they were $49.99. I think at the retailers they were starting bidding at £119. So there was no way I was going to do that. That's a silly price. I don't know why they are so Hornby released so few. So I decided that with the money that I was going to use for the biomass wagons, I would go for a Curascale Class 92, which is in front of you, and I am very glad I did. It's been running on DC. I'm still waiting for a chip because this is a DCC ready. I'm just waiting for the chip, a Lock Pilot V5, so as I can run the pantographs. Interestingly enough, as I put it on the layout today, the pantographs come up by itself, so I'm not messed with that until I get a chip. This is a third rail layout, so a Class 92 will fit on this layout, but even if it wasn't, this is an amazing loco, the best loco I've ever bought new. The detail, it's exquisite. The roof detail, the bogies, the cab detail, it is just superb. And at the price, I paid £189 for this, considering that I paid £160 for a Hornby Class 60 just before Christmas. I was after the blue Kappa version. That was £160 reduced at Hatton, so this is amazing value, and I'm really impressed with the Curascale. I've got the Deltic, a couple of bits fell off that, and there's obviously the bits with the chains. Because I've got a couple of tight curves on this, I took the chains off of the Deltic, and that is a fantastic loco. This is even better. So credit to a Curascale, and I'm sure that the 31 and the 37 will be even better. And I'm now seriously considering, I've got a Class 50, but whether I go for a Curascale Class 50 towards the end of the year. Based on this and the quality and just the look of it and the finish, I probably will. It is superb. So my second purchase was this Dapol Class 59 Yeoman. It's 59005. I ordered this version because of the light configuration. I really like the look of that as opposed to the ordinary Class 66. I've got several of those, so this made a nice change. Before this was sort of confirmed to be in production delivery, I did think about the Hornby 59, but when I first started the layout, this sort of second generation layout, I did have a Hornby 66, and without being too unkind, it was gutless. And the reason I went to DCC was because of lights. I'd had a Class 350 and it was great when it was at speed on the layout with the lights, but as soon as you slowed down and come to a stop, the lights went out. So one of the drivers for me going for DCC. So having had a Hornby 66 that couldn't pull more than 6 of the Bachmann 90-ton JHA hoppers, I think they're called HHAs, one of the two, I got rid of that pretty quickly. I went to Bachmann. So the idea of a Hornby 59, I sort of kicked into touch and waited for this. So this arrived. This is the second one. The first one was a dud. Didn't even run DC, but credit to Hattons, they had sorted the issue and got me a second one very, very quickly. So credit to them for that. I might get a second one when that next batch comes out next year. Just depends. But yeah, this is not without its issues. I ran it in on DC, waiting for the DAPOL decoder, but then as soon as I got it up on the layout with the DCC chip, run it, and there was an awful noise in one direction, but in the other direction it was fine. Took it back downstairs, took the body off, put it on the rolling road, silent. Put the body on the rolling road, silent. Brought it up in the loft today, and it's making an awful noise, but it sounds like something on the body is fouling the drive shaft somewhere. So it's just like a ticking sound every time it moves. So probably something to be investigated, and probably quite an easy fix. I just got to have a look at it. But overall, yes, really happy with it. I started this project in lockdown, so I live near the London to Brighton main line, and with Thameslink Class 700s are everywhere. So during lockdown, sitting on the internet looking at stuff, I came across a company called Shapeways, and they do 3D printing for lots of different vehicles, figures, all kinds of stuff, and looked at 00 gauge, and they came up with these Class 700 cabs, and they were only about £15. So I snapped them up. Hadn't a clue what they would fit on, but just the fact that they were so up to date for a modern image layout, there was nothing else like it on the market. Grabbed them, and then grabbed there's a special coupling, it's called a Delna coupling, which fits under the front of these, sold separately. I've got those as well. Now when I looked at Shapeways the other day, these are about $89 for a set, so they've gone up in price massively. There is a company now called, I think, CMAC, that do a 3D printed kit of the Thameslink Class 700s with the actual everything, proper body, bogies and everything, but it's pretty dear. So I had bought an Apollo Railways Bachmann Class 350 from the Bachmann stand at Worley in 2018. I got it for 60 quid because it had been returned as a noisy runner and it was sold as seen. So I thought, well, I'll have a go. I can't go wrong for £60. I'd get that on eBay if I sold it as a non-runner. So I bought it. It's not too bad, and the longer you run it, it seems to quieten down. So I just put it on the rolling road every once in a while, make sure its oil wheels are clean, and it does seem to be getting quieter. So I then managed to find a cab driving car, if that's what they're called, on eBay for about 25 quid, which is this London Midland one here. So that's the donor vehicle to see if this works. So the bogies aren't correct and the window arrangement isn't correct, but this was before CMAC started doing their kits. If I get the correct window configuration, I've probably got to be looking at something like a class 150, but then the shape of the body isn't right. And I don't know any ready to run EMU that has the wheels set that the class 700 has. So this is a compromise as best as I can get it, because I'm not a master modeler. I don't 3D print. My scratch building for buildings is at best basic, so there's no way I'm going to be able to start scratch building bodies or add-ons for these. So literally I don't know how I'm going to figure out the lights on this. It may have to run without lights, and then I'll when I sort it out, maybe send it away to have the lights installed. But yeah, it's just something different for my layout, and I've hooked it up with this Southwest Trains one just for the power car. But this is a project I'm on, so once I'm happy that everything looks as good as I can get it, then I shall secure the cab, and then it'll be about painting. So as this is a donor coach, I can paint this, and if it doesn't work out, I've still got the original cab for the Apollo set. So if this doesn't work, I've still got an Apollo set. So that's why I did it like I did. If I can find, or maybe cobble together a corridor end, then I can cut I'll take the cab off of the Apollo and put a corridor end in there, then I can have a 5-car unit. I have been looking, because probably just after lockdown loads of people were selling the separate cars, £25–30. I didn't bother. Now these things are getting scarce and scarcer, so I'll see if I can do something with a corridor end and give myself a 5-car Thameslink unit. My only recent purchase of a Wagons was this Hatton's FEA, which I bought. Hatton's every day send out an email list of pre-owned stuff. So this came up, and it was £15 because it's got some wonky detail, which I think is only, I don't know if it will show it there, that little wheel there is not on straight. So I haven't looked at whether I can straighten it out, but for £15 I've got this intermodal wagon, which is really, really, really nice. It's heavier than the Dapol spine wagons. The only reason I'd never gone for these before was because these were about £25 each. So £50 a pair, which in today's money isn't too bad. But I was able to pick up, I mean, I got a lot of my Dapol spine wagons from Rails of Sheffield, pre-owned, and they were like 39, 35. I think I paid as low as 29.99 for the wagons, just because they had buffers missing and scratches and scuffs, which when they're weathered doesn't show up anyway. So I decided to have a look at this one, and at £15 can't go wrong. Nothing wrong with it, all the bits are there. So yeah, really pleased with that. So I've got 12 of these Bachmann hopper wagons, and they're really nice, and they're pretty weighty. But I got them at a time when they were selling cheap. I mean, again, when I was going to toy fairs, exhibitions, picking these up for £20–25. Only picked up a few because in those days I had the Hornby 66, so there was no point getting any more than half a dozen, because the 66 couldn't tow any more than 6 around this layout before I had the extension. But as time's gone on, I've increased my stock, but what I've done is picked up lots of second-hand ones where the buffers have been knocked off, and there was no coupling, stuff like that, so they're going really cheap. But now that I've got newer, like the Acura scale biomass hoppers, the intermodal wagons, all with buffers on and everything, these looked a bit odd going round. I mean, the couplings is no issue at all. I've got loads of spare ones, but just with the buffers, when I was filming a few weeks ago, it just didn't look right, the buffers missing. So eBay, I found a company called Rusty Rails, and they do replacement buffers. So I ordered a pack of 8 just to have a look, and they are almost the same. They're not the same, they're almost the same. So now all of my hopper wagons all now are going to get their buffers replaced, and they look so much better with their buffers on. There is a slight difference in the shape. The Rusty Rails ones are flat, where the Bachmann ones, and you can see the difference there. So the one nearest me, getting focus, the one nearest me is the factory fitted one. The one further away is the replacement. So what I think I'm going to do is every end that's got just one missing, I'm going to take them both off and replace them with the Rusty Rails ones, so that it's consistent on one end. Whilst it's not how it should be, it's better than no buffers at all. So that's a little project, and then just paint them. And then these do need some serious weathering. I've got an airbrush to practice on, but I haven't been brave enough to get a wagon yet, so I'll probably use the method I use for the Class 56 with the oil paints. A young lady from McKinley Railway shows you how to weather using oil paints, and it's easy because oil paints take so long to dry. If you're not happy with it, you just get a cloth and wipe it all off and start again. So I shall probably start that method first and see how I get on in the summer when it's warm, because oil paints are a bit smelly, and just try one and see how I get on. So one of the other things I did is trackside detail. Is all the grass on the layout was probably just a couple of shades of green. So having not been able to come up here in the summer because it was too hot, and then we just had that winter spell where it was, you know, mega cold for probably 3 weeks down south. I hadn't really been up here and done anything because nothing would dry. So it was just a case of tidying up bits and pieces underneath the layout. But a couple of weeks ago I come up and realised just how green everything looked. Now this is modelled in the summer, admittedly, but when you look in the summer there is not just green, there is different shades of green. So what I've done is put some meadow grass in, longer grass that would grow by the line side because no one's taken any care of it. There's been no rain, so I've just gone over little areas and just touched it in a bit with some 6mm grass. Now again, my static grass techniques aren't brilliant, but it just changes the tone and a bit of variety on certain parts of the layout. What I've also done here is that there's the main line and there's a ballast shoulder, but it was all very uniform. So what I've done is actually shown it where there was a uniform ballast shoulder when the track was laid, but that nature has started to encroach on that. And I think for me it looks better because it just doesn't look like I've done the static grass, put a barrier up, put the ballast in there, and everything's all nice and uniform. Just looked odd, especially when I took some video footage on this corner when I was filming for the last video. It just looked a bit odd. So that was done, and also what I've done also is started looking at line side detail. In places it was lacking line side detail, so I've added cable trunking. Initially when I started putting things like cable trunking in, I used a scale model scenery kit, which is really nice because you can show the tops off broken. But I've changed my mind on this layout so many times that I'm forever digging up ballast, digging up cable trunking, moving track points, etc. Especially this main junction here. This has been up about 4 or 5 times. I just wasn't happy, and it's only now set because I went to the Pico long points, which look better, and for the trains crossing over I was getting so many derailments with the shorter Hornby points. Every time the train went over there was a wagon drop a wheel, coaches drop a wheel, even the locos were dropping a wheel. So I changed to these and I don't get any more issues, but again it was digging up line side detail. So this line side cable trunking is a cast kit, so I get a little mould and I literally just cast it as I need it. Admittedly I can't show the cable trunking with lids off, or I haven't figured out how to do it yet, but it actually does mean that I can have cable trunking all over the layout, and it's just a case of if I need to move it, I can just lift it up, it breaks, dig it out, move it, just go downstairs, recast another lot, paint it and put it back in place. So from that point of view, the mould only cost me £10. I've had it for a couple of years and I've gone through about 1 kilo of the plaster just for cable trunking, because this is a huge layout, and you know, where there's track there's got to be cable trunking, and I've still got quite a bit to do. So this was for me a more cost-effective way of doing it, and also it was easier to weather than I found with the scale model scenery, plus because it is solid, easier to secure as well in places where it wasn't put down before the ballast. So yeah, that's just something I've been working on for a while. So I'm going to wrap it there for this video, because I don't want these videos to go on for too long. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that's viewed the video. I hope you like what you see. If you've got any comments on anything I've done or could do better, then please let me know. I'm always happy to receive positive feedback. Anything you don't think is quite right, again, just let me know. I don't have all the answers. This is a huge learning curve for me. As much as I've had a model railway since I was, well, for 50 years, still learning lots and want to improve, especially my scratch building. So if anything you see that you think, yeah, actually I've got a good idea for that, then just let me know. But that's it for now. Hope everyone stays safe, everyone's well, enjoying the hobby, and I'll be back soon. Take care everyone. Bye bye.